Yeah, thanks, Warren, very much for joining to talk to me about this today, because it came up and it's something that we've been doing a lot of work around lately, which is conflict.
Yeah, we have had some great workshops, haven't we, over the last couple of months, and we just thought this would be a good idea to share some of the learnings. I mean, the first thing I think about is arguments.
Definitely negative, whether it's frustration, argumentative, like don't want to deal with it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a good question. I don't know. Obviously, not everyone does. As we've run more and more workshops around this, we do find, that there are probably at least half the people wanting to avoid conflict, and then you've got half that are okay with it. I think it's just because it's uncomfortable and difficult to deal with. And sometimes in conflict, there can be so much emotion that you don't know what to do with that.
The first thing we need to be aware of is what is our own natural style. How do we naturally respond when we find ourselves in a situation of conflict?
Yeah, it's actually a twofold part, the way that I see it. One is with your disc style, you may have a tendency, depending on where you fall on the disc map. So you're more likely to address conflict or want to resolve conflict with those things in mind. And then certainly also you might have people who are a little bit more aggressive perhaps, or, forceful with their opinions, versus people who are, I want to keep the peace, so I'm not going to say anything. So you've got that aspect of where disc comes in. But what we've also found through our workshops is that we've got the destructive tendencies, and it doesn't matter what your disc style is, because people of opposing disc styles can also look at those destructive tendencies in the same way.
Well, I'm an SI style, which is steadiness and influence. And naturally, my preference is to sort of keep things at a happy medium, right? I'm the peacemaker. Yeah. I'm the person who tries to keep the team together. I don't really like arguments, and I like to just make sure that we're keeping everything on an even keel. And so, what I find when that happens, my natural tendency is, I'm going to sit back and, there's a lot of energy coming at me. I need to absorb this and think about it. But the important thing, I think, out of all of that is that the person who is getting their point across is not to assume that I necessarily agree. Because if I don't say it, they won't know.
Well, obviously, as you know, I'm a DI style. We share I in common, even though I have, and I'm only just in the D, but I do have a fair bit of D in my profile. I still actually really don't like conflict. And I know that I can absolutely be forceful with my opinions from time to time, especially if it's something I genuinely believe in and I'm very passionate about. Probably annoyed quite a few people over my life and career. We also, through this workshop, tying in a little bit of emotional intelligence. In fact, so much of the fundamentals of it is really emotional intelligence, because it's learning to recognize, that's my natural style. But if I'm having a discussion with Warren, if I don't stop and go, Warren, what's your opinion? Checking in with you. Do you have anything that you want to say? Or we might talk about that in any type of a team meeting that we're having, to make sure that there is input to let people, share their opinion on a particular subject as well.
Well, one of the things we've learned is that there's some mental messages that we're responding to, because our behavior is a response of those thoughts and feelings that we're having at that time.
Yeah.
And those thoughts and feelings can differ by person, and those thoughts and feelings can trigger different behaviors.
I think that's where the tricky part.
Yeah, in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, that's it. This is the tricky part, and a lot of that is really driven around just remembering that that's what's happening, and finding that stopgap in your mind to recognize, hang on, I'm getting into that habitual pattern of thinking that's not serving me.
If you don't deal with things at the time or in the moment or soon after, then they tend to fester away, don't they? And those unresolved issues can hang around for a long time. We've seen examples where things like that have been around for years.
Yes.
People have, had a disagreement. They've never actually been brave enough or had the time to try and remake that relationship, and it has an impact on the workplace and an impact on the productivity and also people's enjoyment of work.
I was going to say, you've got the well-being factor there as well. it's almost impossible to have a harmonious workplace. But if you can find strategies and ways like doing something like our program to really help understand that conflict doesn't have to be destructive, it can be productive, and actually how valuable it is to actually have a tool to be able to deal with it and nip it in the bud. Well, right now we've got a workshop that's public, which is a rare offering of ours. So that's coming up 23rd of October. And that's a really good opportunity to get a taster. So if you're not quite ready for everyone in your organisation to do it, that's a great thing.
Come on, join us at the next workshop. People have found it engaging, they're highly participative, and they walk away with a whole lot of new skills around how to get better at communication, particularly in this area where communication can be sometimes difficult. Look forward to seeing everybody there.